Joining us on the Newsmax hotline, Mark Meckler, the president of Convention of States. Hello, sir, and welcome to the show. What's going on today?
So much is going on, it's hard to keep track of it, Rob. Like every day in the news.
Mark, I got to tell you, there are days that I come in here, and my goal is to entertain and inform people, but there are days that I see the news headlines and I see the idiocy of the left and how much damage it's causing and how much suffering is going on, and it's frustrating as hell. And then I see how America's rejecting all this crap, and I go, oh, please, God, just get us to November the 8th. When you're looking at the news stories of the day and all the things that are happening in the country, what are you seeing as far as the American people coming together, patriotic Americans coming together? Because I see patriotic Americans coming together to fight this crap.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things that really assuages my frustration is that this bad stuff that's happening, and there's a lot of it happening, is driving Americans together, because the vast majority of Americans oppose all of this stuff. They oppose this crazy gender stuff. They oppose CRT. They oppose our energy policies. They oppose our weakness in the face of our foes in the world. And so all of these things that the Biden administration is doing is causing a bunch of us to come together around issues where we have commonality.
Well, and you look at it, Mark, and you're close to this stuff, but you look at 72% of Democrats, most recently about the same, feel the country is going in the wrong direction, which says to me that the whole crux, the whole argument of the class of 1968, the Marxists of the class of 1968, the way that they'd be able to fulfill what they have dreamed of, which is a Marxist takeover of the country in the Soviet style or in the whatever style, call it socialism, call it whatever. But the main thing they needed to do was convince us to hate the country. And guess what? It ain't working, and still people want to come here from the hellholes around the world where they were born. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I mean, that philosophy worked on a small minority of people, mostly, to be fair, overly educated white people. I would call them stupid, overly educated white people.
Yes.
It worked on them. They use it to assuage their guilt. They don't actually do any of the things they ascribe to. They drive around in SUVs. They fly around in private jets. They own big houses. They have the carbon footprints. But it makes them feel better to say this stuff. Those are the people ruining the nation. The good news, Rob, by the way, is most of them at this point are getting older. The leaders of that movement are now aging out of the institutions. They've made the long march to the institutions. I think this is one of the reasons we're seeing them be so aggressive. They're at the end of the lifespan of that movement.
You know what? This is what I've said, Mark. I've said that the left dies like movie vampires. They die like movie vampires, clawing and scratching, trying to drag you into hell with them. They really do. That's what they're trying to do. And we're seeing it everywhere. And I want to mention this, Mark. I saw this poll this morning. I'd like to know your thoughts on it. This is from the New York Times. They talk about which party's candidate are you more likely to vote for in this year's election for Congress, Republicans or Democrat. Overall, right now, Republicans ahead 49-45. Behind with 18 to 29-year-olds, the Gen Z, a few of them will be voting for the first time this election. Then you go to millennials, it's still way ahead for the Democrats. Then Gen X. And guess what? Gen X Republicans leading Democrats by 20 points, which goes to your point that the older Karens, the cul-de-sac living liberals who live in Martha's Vineyard and don't want brown people unless there's a leaf blower on their backs anywhere near them, versus Generation X, which has kind of flown under the radar. And right now, Generation X is about done with this crap. What are your thoughts about the generational differences and the emergence of Generation X from obscurity to change the country?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We poll a whole bunch of different issues all the time trying to figure out exactly what the American people think. I travel all over the country, so I know anecdotally. The thing that surprised me the most, really, over the last 18 months of polling is where the 18 to 24-year-olds fall. And when I look at them, they are more conservative on every single issue than 25 to 34-year-olds, 35 to 44-year-olds. I'll give you a real specific. We polled just in the last week on gasoline prices. And the question was, are rising gasoline prices more likely to make you vote Republican or Democrat? And here's what we found that's so extraordinary. 18 to 24-year-olds, right, the youngest, the ones who we think are the most leftist, 61.3% of them said more likely to vote Republican. That's higher than any other age group, including 65 plus. And we've seen this across a cohort of issues that all these young people they're the ones suffering the most. They're the ones that can't afford to buy groceries. They're the ones that can't afford to buy gas. So they're turning our way.
Yeah, and also they're the children of Generation X. Thank you very much. And I got to tell you also, they had a 2-year slice of their lives completely destroyed. We will never be able to fully quantify what happened to Gen Z because of COVID-idiocy and COVID dictators. You have kids who missed their senior years. We have kids who never got a chance to stand and get a trophy for the NCAA championship. We have kids who had their freshman year, like my daughter, freshman year in high school, erased with no contingency. Just sit in her room for 6 months with not even the online learning ability, and then the continued torture of our children with idiotic masks and mandates and all of this crap. So I think Gen Z is going, we tried it your way, and look what you did to us. Now, we as parents, by the way, we need to do everything we can to support our kids through what they've been through. But that's what they got B-slapped. Gen Z got B-slapped by big government.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's also a natural tendency for every generation or 2 generations to sort of turn against the preceding generations. So they're growing up in a world where I don't believe they're woke. I don't believe they believe in all this stuff. They're living in a world, I travel all the time. I'm in and out of airports all across the country. I'm in restaurants all across the country. They call this a racist country. Look, I just don't, it's not that there aren't racists, but
crap. It's always been bullcrap.
All colors together, all over the country, every place I go.
It's all been bullcrap, to be honest. All of it has been bullcrap, and they've done their level best to. You can't even listen. The left has been so thorough with their attempt to cover the country as racist that they've even said, like, if white people adopt black kids, that they're just trying to virtue signal. They're just using them as props. I mean, that's how sick this movement is. But I'll tell you right now, and I live in Lily-White, Olathe, Kansas. And by the way, if you go to my daughter's high school, every day I come out, and about half the kids are minority kids. All right, so that's Olathe, Kansas. But I'm going to tell you, nobody would drive by a black person on the side of the road changing their tire. They would stop and they'd change it. They wouldn't think twice about it. All of this has been falderall. All of this has been nonsense. All of this has been race baiting. And honestly, Gen X is done with it. I think it's going to translate to Gen Z. Let's talk about inflation and also I noticed this push for electric powered vehicles. It looks like that's doing a faceplant, and also trying to explain away inflation as something that either the fault of the Republicans or Vladimir Putin appear to be a faceplant as well. Your thoughts?
I mean, first of all, again, to tie all this stuff together, all that stuff comes primarily from rich white people, primarily from rich white women who are trying to foist this stuff on people who don't want it and who it's punishing, actually.
And what's her name, by the way? Wait, Mark, what is her name, by the way?
You mean Karen?
I mean Karen. She's a cul-de-sac liberal. That's what she is. I identified this in 1995. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so Karen, across the country, is a highly educated white woman primarily, is pushing this stuff on people who it punishes. But Karen's driving her big SUV. When gas is $5 or $6 a gallon, it doesn't really affect her. She can complain about it, but it doesn't affect her. Who it affects is her housekeeper, who is struggling to fill up her tank to get to her house, who is struggling to buy clothes for her kids or put food on the table. And she actually doesn't give a damn about those people because she's going to virtue signal. Maybe she's going to have her second car be a Tesla so she can virtue signal to her friends. It's not playing with real America.
No. And you know what else? Karen also, because George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, decided that what she does is she says, I got this. So the people of, minorities are like, no, don't say, no, I got this. I am the white virtue signaler. We need to get rid of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben. And meanwhile, the people of color going, what? And then she goes, I got this. We are going to defund police. And the people of color going, I don't think that's a good idea. Make our lives hell. I've got this. She's the one who changed mascots of teams. She's the one who's always willing to step in for an afflicted group and take the slings and arrows figuratively while it never affects her or him, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she's going to impose solutions that are damaging those communities. Environmentalism is another, just a classic example.
Yes.
Show me the number of poor minority folks that are members of the Sierra Club. This is the Sierra Club speaks for rich white people who say we shouldn't drill for oil, and then the oil prices go up for poor people of color in the inner cities who can't afford to drive to their jobs.
Now, let me ask you this, because you obviously are talking about the Convention of States, the way to turn the country around. What do you think is going to happen November the 8th, and what does that do you suppose, for your cause, sir?
Yeah, so, in addition to doing what I do on a grassroots basis, we work with Robert Cahaley, America's most accurate pollster. Yes. So I'm talking to Robert every day, and what I will tell you, and I've seen a shift just over the last couple of weeks, this thing is moving into the red column, and it's moving fast. I predicted a tsunami way back when in the middle of the year, a red tsunami. That was calmed a little bit, I would say, by the Dobbs decision. That has now worn off completely, and I'm back to red tsunami. I'm saying minimum 35-seat pickup in the House. I'm saying we're going to win the Senate. And the part that nobody talks about is we're going to see a wave in state legislative elections. Yes. We currently have 31 states with both houses controlled by Republicans. I think we're going to flip at least 2, maybe 3 of those. We're going to go to 32, somewhere between 32 and 34 states with both houses controlled by Republicans.
And how many do we need for that Convention of States, sir?
Yeah, 34 is our magic number, so I think we're getting close.
I hope so, man. I hope so, Mark. What do you got planned for Thanksgiving, by the way?
Man, I'm going to do everything I can to consume as much food as I possibly can.
Yes.
Not vegetarian, not vegan. We're going to have turkey. We're going to have ham. We're going to have the family in town. We're going to have a big old feast celebrating our thanks for what God has given to the people of America.
Boom. There you go. Mark, great to have you on today. Where can people find you online if they want to know more about Convention of States?
ConventionofStates.com to get signed up, or go to markmeckler.com to just learn more and hang out with me personally.
All right, brother. God bless you. Godspeed. And let's keep our fingers crossed for the 8th of November. Take care of yourself, okay?
God bless.
All right, let's take a break.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for ConventionofStates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to ConventionofStates.com and volunteer today.